On behalf of the First Lady and the entire Trump family, I want to wish all Americans a very, very happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of the year, and our country is doing really well economically like we've never done before.
It's President Trump touting progress on affordability at yesterday's turkey pardoning. The president is shifting the national conversation back to America first and people focusing on prices ahead of these holidays. Danamarie McNicholl is traveling with the president at West Palm Beach, Florida. Danamarie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Molly. As the White House says, they are making tremendous progress in securing a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. What most Americans want to talk about this Thanksgiving are food costs. The average Thanksgiving meal for a table of 10 this year costs $55 per person. That is a 5% decrease from last year, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. President Trump noted this drop is largely due to lower turkey prices, as food inflation and affordability is a high priority for his administration. Now, as for peace negotiations, President Trump says he's cautiously optimistic the 3-year-long war between Russia and Ukraine may be over soon, but wants to hold off on any additional face-to-face meetings with President Zelensky or Putin until a deal is in its final stages. Instead, Trump is sending his special envoy Steve Witkoff to meet with President Putin in Moscow and his Army Secretary Dan Driscoll to meet with Ukraine's leaders. President Trump says he's not focused on the Thanksgiving deadline for the deal.
I don't have a deadline. The deadline for me is when it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing too many people.
And today, President Trump is urging people in Tennessee to get out and vote for Matt Van Epps, the Republican pick for the 7th Congressional District. Speaker Johnson says Republicans are pushing Trump's affordability agenda, and this win would keep the seat red. His opponent, State Rep Afton Bain, has been dubbed the AOC of Tennessee by the GOP and faces criticism for saying she hates the country music scene in Nashville. Today is the last day for early voting there. And President Trump and First Lady Melania, they landed here in Palm Beach last night where they will be celebrating Thanksgiving. The president is already off to golf this morning. Vice President Vance, he will be in Fort Campbell, Kentucky today to thank our service members. Mike and Molly.
And hopefully we'll get a peek in at what the vice president is doing today as he greets those service members. Danamarie McNicholl, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Mike?
Molly, let's bring in Charlie Hurt, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Charlie, welcome.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I want to start with a clip from President Trump on affordability, and I'll get you to react to it.
This Thanksgiving, we're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again. Walmart announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is 25% lower than just 1 year ago. That's a big deal. According to the USDA, the price of Thanksgiving turkey is down 33% from its Biden-era highs. Potatoes are down 13%. Ham is down 15% compared to last Thanksgiving. So we are down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time.
Charlie, how important is it for President Trump and his team to acknowledge that that's a central issue with the American people, affordability?
Oh, I think, Mike, that it's vitally important, and I think it's also important that they continue on their efforts to bring those prices down. As Danamarie just reported, there's obviously a lot of stuff going on, especially around the world right now. But I think the Trump administration wants to actually stop talking about Russia, Ukraine, stop talking about anything else except affordability, because they recognize that that's what's most important to people. Look, it's a tough order to climb out of the kind of inflation that Americans went through the previous 4 years. You were looking at 7% and 9% inflation in some years under the Biden administration. And the problem with that is that, obviously the Trump administration has done a lot to kind of stop the bleeding. But the problem is that stopping the bleeding doesn't fix the problem. You still have that inflation that piled up, and you've got to somehow get growth to get wages to sort of catch up with it. So, the Trump administration is dealing with a situation where they've done everything that they can to try to bring those prices down and to stop the inflation. But people still, there's a lag there. And so obviously there's more work to be done. Probably the most important thing that they have focused on, of course, is energy prices. And when we talk about a drop in turkey prices, for example, for farmers, 70, 80, 90% of their costs is always going to be fuel. So bringing fuel prices down is probably one of the most important things that they have done and probably will continue to try to do.
Charlie's the best hope for members of Congress on the ballot a year from now is that parts of the big, beautiful bill that they passed this past summer will kick in the new year and really have an impact on the lives of many Americans.
Oh, I think absolutely, without a doubt. But even with all of that, and you're still dealing with trying to spur as much growth as possible. I think a lot of the successes that are going on right now are things like regulatory reform that actually make the economy more efficient and allow private businesses to operate more efficiently and hire more people. Because at the end of the day, without growth, and Trump loves to talk about this, we have $38 trillion in national debt. You're not going to chip away at that in 4 years. The only way you can hope to really deal with that is through growth, and growth means private enterprise, people getting jobs, getting pay raises. And I think that that is what they're hoping, that the big, beautiful bill and then a lot of those regulatory reforms will kick in between now and next election day.
Charlie, President Trump had a little fun with former President Biden yesterday with the turkey pardoning. Let's play it, and I'll get you to react.
Sleepy Joe Biden, he used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid. The turkeys known as Peach and Blossom last year have been located, and they were on their way to be processed, in other words, to be killed. But I have stopped that journey, and I am officially pardoning them, and they will not be served for Thanksgiving dinner.
So what about that, Charlie?
Mike, you and I have been around Washington for a long time together. We have covered a lot of turkey pardonings.
Yes.
And they're always the exact same thing over and over again. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. But Trump always manages to sort of bring something a little special to it. And he always manages to get back on the message so that he can talk about Joe Biden and the auto pen. And of course, he has he's replaced the Biden portrait with a portrait of the auto pen that he likes to show everybody that comes to the White House now. So it's all part of the Trump's effort to always stay on message, shake things up, do things a little bit differently, and then score a few political points in the process, and then make everybody laugh.
Our best to Peach and Blossom, Charlie Hurt. Thanks so much.
Indeed. Good to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.